Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, August 14th, 2022, and we are live. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Well, I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. Many of you saw me there. We talked among a number of different topics. We talked about FBI search warrant served to Mar-a-Lago this past Monday, August 8th, 2022, and the fallout from that and all the lies coming from the traitor-in-chief, Benedict Donald, and all the conspiracy theories coming from the right wing, coming from Republicans as well, and circling the wagon around Donald Trump. And then on Thursday, we got the news that among the documents that the that the FBI was looking for, among the documents that the FBI was looking for were documents pertaining to nuclear weapons. Okay. So we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'm gonna let you hear a couple of excerpts of that show. And then I was on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, on Roland Martin's network, the Black Star Media Network. I was on I made my debut on Faraji Muhammad's show this past Wednesday, August 10th. And we discussed that as well. And I dealt with a lot of history. I was on Faraji. I was actually, let me rephrase that. I was on as Faraji Muhammad's co-host. They had me on as his co-host. Okay. And I was on for 2 hours. So 2 weeks ago, you all here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation heard me as Reverend Al Sharpton's co-host on Keeping It Real. He had me on for 2 hours on his show 2 Wednesdays ago. And then Faraji Muhammad had me on his show for 2 hours on Wednesday as well. So I'm moving on up. Okay. I'm moving on up. Now we're going to see where I move to, but but I'm moving on up. So things are happening. We try to make things happen and keep the bills paid at the same time. But we talked about this a lot on Faraji Muhammad's show. So I have a great segment I want to share with you dealing with that. We talked about Trump and Mar-a-Lago, and on Faraji's show as well as Roland Martin Unfiltered, I talked about a lot of history as well, because I'm not just a radio talk show host, but I'm also a historian as well. Okay. So we're going to deal with some of those topics. Now, also Breonna Taylor, on last Sunday's show, we talked about Breonna Taylor, and we talked about the Department of Justice indicting 4 officers in Kentucky in her killing for Louisville, Kentucky, in the killing of Breonna Taylor that took place in March 2020, right? So we got the news. We got the news this past week. I think it was Thursday or Friday. There was an article from the Washington Post. We talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered also. One of the officers who's accused of falsifying the search warrant, okay, or arrest warrant. One of the officers who is search warrant. I had it right the first time. Search warrant. Officer Goodlett, Kelly Goodlett, okay, white female. Her attorney says she's going to plead guilty in this federal case. She's going to be the first officer to plead guilty, and she is believed that she is going to become a witness for the prosecution. The first one who admits guilt and speaks and gets a plea, they get the best deal. That's what's happening. That's good news there, because you have accountability. It took 874 days for an indictment to happen. It took 874 days for an indictment to happen, but you have some accountability coming in the killing of Breonna Taylor. All right. So we're going to talk about that on today's show as well. I have a great segment from Roland Martin Unfiltered, where we talked about this on Roland's show. Now, also, R. Kelly is back in the news. Okay. Kales, R. Kelly, I Believe I Can Fly. I bet he wishes he can fly right now. His trial on child pornography charges in Chicago is coming up starting this week, actually starting Monday. Okay, so we're going to talk about that as well, let you know what's going on there. That's very interesting. I think it was Chicago Sun-Times that had an article dealing with the trial coming up with R. Kelly. Okay, so we'll discuss that. And then there was a very interesting article, and we talked about this some in my online class today, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. There was a very interesting article that dealt with how it was a group of historians who met with President Biden for almost 2 hours on August 4th. And these historians, and some of them you see on MSNBC, Michael Beschloff, as well as John Meacham, these historians are warning President Biden that democracy is teetering. And one of the references that they made is the period of time leading up to the U.S. Civil War. And this is something I've been talking about here on this show. I've been talking about on Roland Martin's show. I talked about it on Reverend Al Sharpton's show, Politics Nation. We talked about it on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, this past Wednesday. All right. This is a critical period in history that we're dealing with. And as I said before, and once again, the call-in number is 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. We're live this Sunday, August 14th, 2022. You're live 2 hours with Michael Imhotep. As I said before, I was never one of these people who parroted the narrative coming from corporate media and coming from the pollsters that Democrats, it was automatic that Democrats were going to lose control of the House of Representatives, lose control of the U.S. Senate. I never bought into that narrative. Number one, I study politics. So you compare the accomplishments and policies of the Democrats, compare that to the Republicans, is much better. Just this past week, you had the CHIPS bill signed into law dealing with microchips. You had the Friday, you had the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 that passed the House of Representatives. It's going to be signed into law this week. You've had a number of wins for President Biden and the Biden-Harris administration just in these past 6 weeks. But that's on top of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. And most Americans don't know the infrastructure bill is passed. That's on top of all these other accomplishments that have happened. So the way I frame this, and I said this on Faraji Muhammad's show, and it blew him away. The way I frame this 2022 midterm election is that this is the first midterm election since an insurrection that has taken place in this country since the 1866 midterm election, the year after the Civil War ended. I know all the pollsters and Steve Kornacki on MSNBC, I know they like to say, oh, well, except for 2 times in the past 100 years, the party that's in the White House has lost seats in the House of Representatives or the Senate in the first midterm elections. All that goes out the window. You've never had, everybody listen to me, you've never had a sitting president incite an insurrection and call for the vice president to be executed. You've never had that in the history of this country. You never had a sitting president send domestic terrorists to the U.S. Capitol building to interrupt a constitutionally mandated process of certifying the electoral college votes so that the sitting president can overthrow the government and stay in power. That has never happened in the history of this country. So you can't look at these midterm elections just as business as usual. No, it's not. Not if you understand history. It's not business as usual. And then when you look at the article, and we talked about this today in my Sunday online history class that I teach, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. So some of you watching were in today's class. We talked about this article here that came out Wednesday, August 10th. Historians privately warned Biden that America's democracy is teetering. Historians privately warned Biden that America's democracy is teetering. Well, he has enough sense to meet with historians. See, Trump doesn't have enough sense to do with that. Oh, he put together the 1776 Commission with their ahistorical account of history in this history. But Donald Trump doesn't have enough common sense to do something like this. When Biden with historians last week at the White House, they compared the threat facing America to the pre-Civil War era and to pro-fascist movements before World War II. We're going to talk about this later on in the show, okay? That's from August 10th, 2020. This is what I've been warning people about. This is exactly what I've been talking about, okay? All right, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about R. Kelly. I got these new earbuds because I broke my other earbuds yesterday in class. So I got these keep popping out my ear. I got to buy some new earbuds. It never ends. And we're going to give you we'll review some of the things that we talked about in our online class this weekend. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school, and from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right and wrong behavior, what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history, politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more, and relationships. Sometimes I keep forgetting relationships. It has a lot to do with what's going on in my life, but, and relationships. Okay. Long story. And much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, the 22828 to sign up for our text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, the 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, calling number is 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so there was a when we come back from the break, I'm going to let you hear the press conference that walk softly, carry a big stick, Attorney General Merrick Garland did. I told people I was never one of these people buying into Merrick Garland's a punk, all this stuff. No. Merrick Garland was a federal judge. Merrick Garland is very even-tempered, mild-mannered. Don't confuse that with being weak. Okay, you remember in the movie American Gangster? You remember the movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington, who's probably my favorite actor, Denzel Washington, playing Frank Lucas. And there's the scene where his brother, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, is there in the nightclub, and Chiwetel Ejiofor wants to be like Nicky Barnes, and he's dressing flashy, and Denzel tells him, the loudest guy in the room is the weakest guy in the room. The loudest guy in the room is the weakest guy in the room. Okay. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on, to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening on the grounds in real time.
Welcome back to the History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, August 14th, 2022, and we are live. All right, I want to go to the press conference that Attorney General Merrick Garland held on Friday. And what happened was, after the search warrant was executed on Monday. Now, keep in mind, people, Donald Trump said this was a raid. This was not a raid. Okay, a raid is when they come in your house, kick down the door, 6 o'clock in the morning, point guns at people, handcuff people, things like this, tear the place up, That's a raid. This was not a raid. Okay. Donald Trump is exaggerating, and then he started raising money immediately. He was the one who announced what happened. Okay. And he basically lied about what happened. He basically lied about what happened. And he didn't talk about the fact that subpoenas were issued months ago. Okay. And there was still documents that he did not, classified documents that he did not turn over. Okay. So I want to go to this press conference here from, this took place on Friday, August 12th. Friday, August 12th, Attorney General Merrick Garland, who walks softly and carries a big stick, put the smack down on Donald Trump. And what he did was he filed a motion to have the search warrant unsealed so people can see what the search warrant was for. Let's go to clip number 1, Giovanni.
Good afternoon. Since I became Attorney General, I have made clear that the Department of Justice will speak through its court filings and its work. Just now, the Justice Department has filed a motion in the Southern District of Florida to unseal a search warrant and property receipt relating to a court-approved search that the FBI conducted earlier this week. That search was of premises located in Florida belonging to the former president. The department did not make any public statements on the day of the search. The former president publicly confirmed the search that evening, as is his right. Copies of both the warrant and the FBI property receipt were provided on the day of the search to the former president's counsel, who was on site during the search. The search warrant was authorized by a federal court upon the required finding of probable cause. The property receipt is a document that federal law requires law enforcement agents to leave with the property owner. The department filed the motion to make public the warrant and receipt in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search, the surrounding circumstances, and the substantial public interest in this matter. Faithful adherence to the rule of law is the bedrock principle of the Justice Department and of our democracy. Upholding the rule of law means applying the law evenly, without fear or favor. Under my watch, that is precisely what the Justice Department is doing. All Americans are entitled to the even-handed application of the law, to due process of the law, and to the presumption of innocence. Much of our work is by necessity conducted out of the public eye. We do that to protect the constitutional rights of all Americans and to protect the integrity of our investigations. Federal law, long-standing department rules, and our ethical obligations prevent me from providing further details as to the basis of the search at this time. There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly. Where possible, it is standard practice to seek less intrusive means as an alternative to a search and to narrowly scope any search that is undertaken. Third, let me address recent unfounded attacks on the professionalism of the FBI and Justice Department agents and prosecutors. I will not stand by silently when their integrity is unfairly attacked. The men and women of the FBI and the Justice Department are dedicated, patriotic public servants. Every day, they protect the American people from violent crime, terrorism, and other threats to their safety while safeguarding our civil rights. They do so at great personal sacrifice and risk to themselves. I am honored to work alongside them. This is all I can say right now. More information will be made available in the appropriate way and at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Attorney General, the former president said this
FBI agents? Thank you all for your questions. But as I said, this is all I can say at this time.
All right. So that was Attorney General Merrick Garland putting the smack down right there. And usually the Department of Justice does not make announcements about a search warrant like that. They only come out and make announcements once they have filed charges. Charges have not been filed here. Usually the Department of Justice doesn't do that. But because Donald Trump was calling for the search warrant to be unsealed, because you had conspiracy theorists floating around with nonsense, you had the guy who went and attacked the Cincinnati FBI field office. They shot and killed him. What would you think was going to happen? Okay, but because all this is going on, Attorney General, so I don't think Trump and his attorneys thought Attorney General Merrick Garland was going to file a motion to unseal the search warrant, but he did. This is what happens. Donald Trump is going to learn that fat meat is greasy. Okay, now if we look at this article here from the Wall Street Journal, and you know, for $39.99, because I had a subscription to the Wall Street Journal before, and it was after the introductory rate, it went up to $39 a month. I'm not paying Rupert Murdoch $39 a month for the Wall Street Journal, but they had a special offer, $8 a month. And when this article came out, because I went to go read it as soon as this article came out on it came out Friday. So I said $8 a month. I'll pay Rupert Murdoch, because Rupert Murdoch owns the Fox News channel as well. Okay, and he owns the New York Post, the right wing New York Post that prints a whole lot of conspiracy theories. That's Rupert Murdoch. But anyway, this article here from the Wall Street Journal. FBI recovered 11 sets of classified documents in Trump search inventory shows. FBI recovered 11 sets of documents in Trump search inventory shows. And some of the documents are classified as top secret, sensitive, compartmented info. Okay, sensitive compartmented info. Now, when you go through and read this, when you have something that's top secret, sensitive compartment info, that's higher than regular top secret. And that information has to be stored properly in a SCIF. It can't be stored in a storage room at Mar-a-Lago. Okay. And when you review type of highly sensitive information, you review it in a self-contained room called a SCIF. You can't take in cell phones in there. You can't take pictures. You can't take recording devices, etc. All right. So FBI agents who searched former Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home on Monday removed 11 sets of classified documents, including some marked as top secret and meant to only be available in special government facilities. That's SCIF. Okay. Some of them meant to only be available in special government facilities, according to a search warrant released by a Florida court on Friday. Now, the FBI agents, the Federal Bureau of Investigation agents, FBI agents, took around 20 boxes of items, binders of photos, and a handwritten note, and the executive grant of clemency for Donald Trump's ally, Roger Stone, the dirty trickster Roger Stone. A list of items removed from the property shows. Also included in the list was information about the president of France, according to the 3-page list. The list is contained in a 7-page document that also includes the warrant to search the premises, which was granted by a federal magistrate judge in Florida. Okay. Now, so you have to understand, when you get a search warrant, the police have to go to a federal judge, the authorities, the FBI, they have to go to a federal judge, present the evidence. They don't tell the judge who the target is, but they have to present the evidence, and the federal judge signs off on a search warrant. Okay. So you had the Department of Justice and the judicial branch of the federal government, a federal judge involved in this. Okay. This wasn't some, as they try to say on Fox News, you had Steve Scalise minority whip Steve Scalise out of Louisiana. He was on Fox News, Fox and Friends, and he tried to insinuate it was some rogue FBI agents. No, this ain't no rogue FBI agents. No, you got a rogue former president. Get it straight, Steve. And isn't it interesting that it was 2 black Capitol Hill police officers who saved Steve Scalise's life when his behind got shot? Okay, when his behind got shot a few years ago. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African-American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today.
IDO Network International, in collaboration with STL Black Woman, DACA, and ACTA, present the Royal Pilgrimage to the Americas, August 24th through the 28th. The African kings and queens are coming to you for business, networking, and sharing of Pan-African ideals. The venue will be the illustrious En Garde Arts Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri. A royal cultural experience and exhibitions, trade and investment opportunities in Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas. A Royal Pan-African Summit hosting keynote speakers, and a red carpet banquet. Come and witness an African royal coronation ceremony. Register at www.idonetwork.org to book your ticket to wine and dine with African royalty. Vendor opportunities available. Get face-to-face with the royals who own the land and resources for business. Contact DACA for deal room information at 602-730-4572.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, August 14th, 2022. And we are live. Calling 1-3-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay, I want to go back to this story here from the Wall Street Journal dealing with FBI recovered 11 sets of classified documents and Trump search inventory shows. Before we go back to that, hey, I want to remind you, you can register for the online history classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. We had two great classes this weekend. Okay, if you missed the classes, as soon as you register, you can watch them because we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded, and you can watch from around the world as well. On Saturdays, I teach ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Also, when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday at the end of the show, I did a plug for these two classes also. Classes on sale, $60, regularly $130. We do the sessions Saturdays, normally 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes I have to change it because of my schedule, and sometimes I'm at events on the weekend, but I'll let you know ahead of time. Then on Sundays, we teach from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Okay, same time, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the information right here on the homepage of our website. The classes are regularly $130. They're on sale $60 each. We have a bundle pack where you can register for both classes for only $100 for a very limited time only. You can use this information with your children as well. I would say the content is PG-13. Visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We also have the information in the thread of the broadcast also. Okay, the thread of the broadcast here. All right, calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. if you have a question or comment. All right, so I want to go back to our lead story here. I want to go back to this article from the Wall Street Journal, and this one came out it really came out on Friday, and it was updated on Saturday, August 13th. Okay, name of this article: FBI recovered 11 sets of classified documents in Trump search inventory shows. Trump allies claim the former president declassified the documents recovered from Mar-a-Lago. We're going to explain why that's a lie, because there's a process that you go through to declassify documents, number one. But number two, even if every document, the 15 boxes that were taken out a few months ago, and then the 20 boxes, around 20 boxes that they took out on Monday, even if all that was declassified, because of the Presidential Records Act, because of the Presidential Records Act of 1978, that stuff does not belong to the president. It belongs to the federal government, and is kept at the National Archives. Okay, the Presidential Archives. The outgoing president can't take that stuff with them. That's illegal. So even if all the documents were declassified, and there's a process to go through to declassify the documents, you can't just wave a magic wand and say they're declassified. Number one, from all the experts, all the security experts, you have to contact the department that classified the documents in the first place to make sure that you declassifying the documents does not cause a problem, does not reveal secrets, does not put people's lives in jeopardy. You can't just wave a magic wand and say these are all declassified. The other thing is Donald Trump's dumb ass doesn't read. So what does he need classified documents or declassified documents for? Donald Trump doesn't read. Why does he need documents pertaining to nuclear weapons, as the Washington Post reported on Thursday? Now, we don't know whose nuclear weapons. We don't know whether it's the U.S., adversaries, allies, things like this. But why does Donald Trump doesn't know about nuclear weapons, and he doesn't read? So why does he need these documents? Who had access to these documents at Mar-a-Lago? The people in and out of Mar-a-Lago, people from all over the place. Who had access to these? So if we go back to this piece here from the Wall Street Journal, the list includes, so you had around 20, the FBI took out around 20 boxes of items, binders of photos, a handwritten note, and the executive grant of clemency for Trump's ally, Roger Stone. A list of items removed from the property shows. Okay, so the list includes references to one set of documents marked as various classified TS SCI documents. Okay, top secret, sensitive, compartmented info. Top secret, sensitive, compartmented info. Okay, that's an abbreviation. Refers to top secret, sensitive, compartmented info. It also, now, sensitive compartmented information, that's a higher classification than just regular classified document. Okay. 3 sets of secret documents and 3 sets of confidential documents. The list did not provide any more details about the substance of the documents. Now, Donald Trump's lawyers argue that the former president used his authority to declassify the material before he left office. While a president has the power to declassify documents, there are federal regulations that lay out a process for doing so. Plus, there's underlying supporting documentation to prove that you declassify the documents, because the stamp that's on the documents gets changed from declassified, from classified to declassified. So where's the supporting documentation to prove that he declassified the documents? They're just lying. They're just throwing stuff out there. The narrative changes from day to day. They're just trying to throw this stuff out here to see what sticks. Because it was Friday that Donald Trump came out and said he declassified it. You didn't say that Monday when you sent out a letter to your database trying to raise money and claim that the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. That wasn't a raid. They served a search warrant. We talked about this on Faraji Muhammad show on Roland Martin's network, the Black Star Media Network, and on Roland's Facebook fan page and YouTube channel. We talked about this. I was guest co-host on Wednesday. That was Wednesday, August 11th. And we discussed this with Faraji Muhammad. Let's go to clip number 2, Giovanni.
Here to talk to us about this situation and to give us some context as to what we're looking at, and more importantly, what should we expect as we move this whole situation forward, is my brother Michael Imhotep. Brother Michael has been doing the great work of using his platform, as he is the host of the African History Show Network. And it's live on, the African History Network show that can be heard live on Sundays from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 9:10 a.m. WFDF. And he's also an educator as well as a contributor for Roland Martin Unfiltered, and just an all-around good brother. Brother Michael, thank you so much for joining me today here on The Culture, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brother Faraji. How you doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing well considering the situation. So let's kind of break this thing down, man. Right. Because there are so many conversations, Michael, about, is this the nail in the coffin of Trump? Is this the beginning of the end for the former president? Now, you and I, we've been on Brother Roland's show. We've talked about Trump many, many times.
Sure.
But this whole situation feels a lot different. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It absolutely is a lot different.
It feels a lot different. They used to call him Teflon Don. I remember that name. That stuck with him for years, Brother Michael, calling him Teflon Don. Because there were so many allegations and accusations, and yet nothing would seem to stick. However, this feels different. Not only with that, like I mentioned, the subpoena that the president was given months ago to ask for those documents, he didn't fully adhere to that subpoena. And then he got this investigation happening in New York State with the state's attorney, Letitia James, our sister up there, around the attorney general there, around his business practices for the Trump organization. What is going on?
Well, what's happening is this stuff is really catching up with Trump, and he's getting hit from all different directions at the same time. And this is what I said was going to happen. I said, first of all, I wasn't sure if he was going to run for re-election, say like a year ago. I wasn't really sure if he was going to run for re-election, number one. And one of the reasons why I said that is because he's going to be hit with so many investigations. You have the January 6th committee, and we see what's coming out of there. And then also you have the Department of Justice doing their investigation as well, which goes even beyond the January 6th committee. You have the subpoena and these classified documents. Now, we found out back during earlier this year, back around February or so, about 15 boxes of classified documents that Donald Trump had in Mar-a-Lago. And they were recovered, but we didn't know that there were still documents that were classified that were not recovered. So we found out that, number one, there's an article from NBC News, NBCnews.com from August 9th, which would have been Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. Trump's legal team was in talks with DOJ this spring over records stored at Mar-a-Lago, attorney says. And this goes back to talks between Trump's legal team and the Department of Justice as recently as early June 2022 over these documents. And then we see the reporting from the New York Times today: subpoena preceded search warrant and push to retrieve material from Trump. So, and it was suspected by legal analysts and scholars that the search warrant was, number one, the last resort, because they could not get these classified documents through other means, through a subpoena. Okay. Number one. Number two, it's suspected that these classified documents must be very, very important, very, very sensitive, because there's never been an FBI serving a search warrant on a former president's house. This is unprecedented, okay? And also it's important to understand, and a lot of legal analysts have said this, as well as attorney DeMario Solomon Simmons on Roland Martin Unfiltered a couple of days ago. He said this was not a raid that was conducted on Mar-a-Lago. This was the FBI serving a search warrant. Okay. A raid is when they come in 6 o'clock in the morning, kick down your door, ransack your house, things like this. Okay. This was not a raid. That's the language Donald Trump used to draw sympathy, because he's fundraising on this. Okay. But right. Yeah, but there's a lot more that's going to be coming, because this, as far as we know right now, this search warrant is not connected to the January 6, 2021 insurrection. As far as we know right now, there's still going to be more coming from the DOJ dealing with the January 6 investigation as well. So it's a whole lot coming. We're going to have some very busy news cycles coming. Okay, pause it right there, Giovanni. Okay, we're going to pick this up on the other side of the break. We'll pick this up on the other side of the break. Thanks, Giovanni. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
IDO Network International, in collaboration with STL Black Woman, DACA, and ACTA, present the Royal Pilgrimage to the Americas, August 24th through the 28th. The African kings and queens are coming to you for business, networking, and sharing of Pan-African ideals. The venue will be the illustrious En Garde Arts Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri. A royal cultural experience and exhibitions, trade and investment opportunities in Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas. A Royal Pan-African Summit hosting keynote speakers, and a red carpet banquet. Come and witness an African royal coronation ceremony. Register at www.idonetwork.org to book your ticket to wine and dine with African royalty. Vendor opportunities available. Get face-to-face with the royals who own the land and resources for business. Contact DACA for deal room information at 602-730-4572.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. All right, that was a short break. Okay. Wasn't expecting that, but that's fine. Okay, in just a second, we'll go back to that clip from The Culture with Faraji Muhammad. And then in the second hour, I'll play the excerpt from Roland Martin Unfiltered when I was on Roland Show Friday. But I want to talk about this article here from the New York Times from August 12th, 2022, because Friday, Donald Trump came out and said that he declassified all of the documents, okay, the 15 boxes of documents that the FBI took in early in the year, because there was a subpoena. There was a piece from the New York Times: subpoena preceded search warrant and push to retrieve material from Trump. So we'll bring up that article because I have a ton of information on this. This has been an evolving story. All right. But there was a subpoena that was issued earlier in the year, and there were boxes taken out from Mar-a-Lago in around February of this year, February or March or so of this year. Okay, so and they tried to get the remaining documents by a subpoena, and they couldn't get all of them. A Trump attorney signed off in June saying that you have all the classified documents. Apparently not. If we look at this piece from Charlie Savage from the New York Times, August 12, 2022, Trump claims he declassified all the documents in Mar-a-Lago. Even if that's true, it probably doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. Okay. Former President Donald Trump claimed on Friday that before leaving office, he declassified all the documents the FBI found in this week's search of his Florida residence, that agents described as classified in a list of what they seized. Now, if Donald Trump declassified all these documents before he left the White House, why didn't he say on Monday? Why didn't he say that on Tuesday? Why didn't he say that on Wednesday? Why didn't he say that on Thursday? He manufactures this excuse on Friday. Why didn't he say that on Monday when he that the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago? Why didn't he say that then? Because it's not true. That's why. Quote, Trump said in a statement, it was all declassified. Now, the claim echoed an assertion in May of 2022. The claim echoed an assertion in May of 2022 by Kash Patel, a former Trump administration official and a major supporter of Donald Trump, after the National Archives, the U.S. National Archives, found materials marked classified in boxes of documents it removed from Trump's Mar-a-Lago club and estate. He asserted that Donald Trump had deemed those files declassified shortly before leaving office, but that the markings had not been removed from them. Okay, but you're supposed to consult with the agency that classified the documents as classified in the first place, and the level of classification of top secret or whether it's sensitive compartmented info, because you got to make sure that you declassifying it does not put national security at risk, does not put people's lives at risk, etc. You just can't wave a magic wand. You know, in the movie Men in Black, and they have that shiny, flashy thing, and they flash it, and then they erase memory. You don't have one of those as president to just magically declassify stuff. Donald Trump has offered no details, but he is saying he made a blanket oral invocation that all the files he took to Mar-a-Lago were unclassified, without making any formal written record that would be difficult to prove or disprove. That's not how you declassify stuff. That's not how you declassify things. And even if everything was declassified based upon the Presidential Records Act of 1978, you still can't take it with you. It doesn't belong to the president, so you're still wrong. Even if there is no evidence that Donald Trump followed normal procedures for declassifying certain types of information, his lawyers argue that he was not constitutionally bound to obey such rules. You would think a former president would want to ensure that they don't violate national security. You know, you want to make sure that you would think that a former president would want to make sure that classified documents, right, don't fall into the wrong people's hands, that they're secured properly. So what they're not asking on Fox News, most of them on Fox News are not asking, why did he take these documents in the first place? Why did he take these documents in the first place? If there's information about nuclear weapons, what does Trump need with that? Or does somebody else like Vladimir Putin need that information? But in any case, such a claim would not settle the matter. For one thing, two of the laws that a search warrant executed at Mar-a-Lago this week referred to, sections 1519 and section 2071 of Title 18 of the United States Code. This is federal law, United States Federal Code, sections 1519 and 2071, make the taking or concealment of government records a crime, regardless of whether they had anything to do with national security. So Trump conjures up this lie on Friday, but I don't know who he bounces this lie off with. Bounces, because you're still wrong. And it's still a violation of federal law. United States Code sections 1519 and 2071. They make the taking or concealment of government records a crime, regardless of whether they had anything to do with national security. For another, laws against taking or hoarding material with restricted national security information, which generally carry heavier penalties than theft of ordinary documents, do not always line up with whether the files are technically classified. That is because some criminal laws enacted by Congress to protect certain national security information operates separately from the executive branch's system of classifying documents created by presidents using executive orders as confidential, secret, or top secret. Okay, so these are the three classifications of like classified documents: confidential, secret, or top secret. So what they're saying is that this came out like Friday. He could be in violation of the Espionage. Trump can be in violation of the Espionage Act. We haven't even gotten the charges from January 6, 2021 insurrection that he incited. He's got this that he has to deal with. In particular, a third law, the warrant references Section 793 of the United States Code, which carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison per offense. Up to 10 years in prison per offense. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media. We got the topics, the guests, the opinions, and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. You know, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do recurring events of history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy to let us have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
All right, welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. Okay, calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, I want to go back to the article we were dealing with from the New York Times. This counters the lie that Donald Trump came up with on Friday, because he came out Monday and he announced, he said, Mar-a-Lago has been raided. That wasn't a raid. They served a search warrant. Friday, he came out with the lie and said, oh, he declassified all of these documents, the 15 boxes that were taken out earlier in the year, and then the 20 boxes that they took out on Monday. He declassified all that stuff before he left. How'd you have time to declassify all that before you left the White House when you were busy giving out pardons? How'd you have all that time to declassify all these documents before you left the White House? You were so busy giving out pardons. I don't think you had time to declassify this stuff. You definitely didn't have time to go through the proper channels to declassify these. Read this article here from the New York Times. Trump claims he declassified all the documents at Mar-a-Lago. Even if that's true, hold on just a second. Even if that's true, it probably doesn't matter. This is by Charlie Savage. Excellent article about Charlie Savage. Let's go back to this article. Then we'll go back to the clip from me on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, on the Black Star Media Network, we're on the Martins Network, and then we'll go to the phone lines. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so the article goes on to say, but in any case, such a claim of declassifying all these documents would not settle the matter. For one thing, two of the laws that a search warrant executed at Mar-a-Lago this week referred to, sections 1519 and 2071 of Title 18 of the United States Code, this is federal code, federal law, make the taking or concealment of government records a crime. The taking or concealment of government records a crime, regardless of whether they had anything to do with national security. Okay, yeah, we're going back to the second video here in just a minute from The Culture with Faraji Muhammad, Giovanni, in just a minute here. For another, laws against or hoarding material with restricted national security information, which generally carry heavier penalties than theft or ordinary documents, do not always line up with whether the files are technically classified. That is because some criminal laws enacted by Congress to protect certain national security information operate separately from the executive branch's system of classifying documents created by presidents using executive orders as confidential, secret, or top secret. Okay. In particular, a third law, the references was Section 793 of the United States Code, which carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison per offense, better known as the Espionage Act. Better known as the Espionage Act. It was enacted by the U.S. Congress. World War I is 1914, 1918. We did World War I in the 10-week online history class I teach on Sundays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. It was enacted by Congress during World War I, decades before President Harry S. Truman issued an executive order creating the modern classification system for the executive branch of the federal government. Now, as a result, the Espionage Act makes no reference to whether a document has been deemed classified. Instead, it makes it a crime to retain without authorization documents related to the national defense that could be used to harm the United States or aid a foreign adversary. That could be used to harm the United States or aid a foreign adversary. Now, do you remember back in 2017 when Donald Trump had a meeting at the White House, and meeting with Sergei Lavrov, ambassador to Russia, ambassador from Russia to the U.S., Sergei Lavrov, and no U.S. photographers were there in the room. U.S. media wasn't there in the room. Okay, but then Trump showed classified documents to the Russians there in the White House. Okay, you remember that? So, yeah, okay, yeah. See, Trump is gonna mess around and find out that fancy. Keep Trump. This right here. He's gonna have to deal with this, possibly violating the Espionage Act. He's gonna have to, and the January 6th investigation as well. Now, prosecutors could argue that a document meets that act's standard, regardless of whether Donald Trump had pronounced it unclassified shortly before leaving office. By the same token, defense lawyers could argue that it fell short of the standard regardless of how it had been marked. But the problem is, because of the Presidential Records Act in 1978, that stuff doesn't belong to the president. He can't take it with him. He can't take it with him, period. Belongs to the federal government. So any way you slice this, he's still wrong. Any way you slice this, he's still wrong. Okay, I want to go back to this segment here. We talked about this on The Culture with Faraji Muhammad on the Black Star Media Network. I was a co-host. I was on for 2 hours on Faraji's show on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, August 11th, or August 10th, Wednesday, August 10th. Let's go back to this clip, Giovanni.
Hey, look, hey, bro, Michael, here's the crazy thing about this situation. Like, it's all coming now. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
It's
like,
hitting
it's
at the
all
same time. It's
same time, bro. And when you look at how the former president moves, right? Like, he can handle one at a time. You know, I mean, let me tell you, he must be spending, money over money in lawyers to handle all of the investigation. And these aren't just like petty beefs. This is like
keep
the federal government.
The Republican National Committee is paying his legal fees. He got them to pay his legal fees. So they're paying his legal fees. And, once again, he's strong-arming them. But I think a lot of this is going to implode. So there was a poll taken, I think it was June, of this year, where about 50% of Republicans did not want Trump to run for re-election. They're looking at other people like Ron DeSantis,
I remember
from
reading
Florida,
that. Yes, sir.
things like this. And then when you have a search warrant like this from the FBI, this is totally unprecedented. Okay. And you're going to have more coming out from the January 6th committee. I don't think it's going to be more Republicans who want Trump to run now.
Right.
I think this is going to be really negative, especially with him railing against the FBI. Okay, this is supposed to be the party of law and order. Okay, they back the blue until the coup. They back the blue until the coup. So you can't be the party of law and order. Then you're coming out against the FBI. But then this morning on Morning Joe, if you can get this clip, if Roland can get this clip, man, play this on your show. This morning on Morning Joe, they showed a montage of commentary from Fox News from when you had the Hillary Clinton email scandal. And all these people on Fox News, were saying that the FBI needs to investigate, they need to do search warrants, all this stuff. They were calling for the FBI to go after Hillary Clinton. Okay.
Let me add to that.
Yep.
The big piece that was circulating on Twitter was Mike Pence's Twitter tweet where he praised the FBI.
Right.
And he tagged real Donald Trump at that time. He tagged him and said, we commend the FBI for looking into this situation. He praised the institution. Right. Now you're talking about you're deeply concerned. This is crazy.
And the FBI director was nominated by Donald Trump, Christopher Wray. The FBI director was nominated by Donald Trump. Okay, so now you have these commentators on Coup Plotter TV. You have them now railing against the FBI after he did not turn over all the classified documents. And it's important for people to understand the 1978 Presidential Records Act. Okay, all those documents, even if Trump declassified them before he left the office, they don't belong to him. They belong to the public. He cannot keep those documents. He has to turn them over so they can be properly preserved. So even if he declassified all the documents, which would be problematic, because there's supposed to be a process as you go through to determine. You're supposed to get like some advice on whether you should declassify this or not. Okay, but even if he did declassify all the documents, they don't belong to him. He can't keep them. So he's still in violation of the Presidential Records Act of 1978. Hey, pause it right there, Giovanni, for me. Pause it right there, okay? All right. We're going to go to the phone lines here just 1 second. I just want to show you the title of this one here, and we'll deal with this after we go to the phone lines. This article right here from the New York Times also. So keep in mind, I read New York Times, Washington Post every day. I monitor about 35 different news sources on a daily basis, right? Trump lawyer told Justice Department that classified material had been returned. Trump lawyer told Justice Department that classified material had been returned. The lawyer signed a statement in June of 2022 that all documents marked as classified and held in boxes in storage at Mar-a-Lago had been given back because the FBI came early in the year to collect. They got 15 boxes of classified documents. The search at the former president's home on Monday turned up more. So the attorney was wrong. Apparently the attorney was wrong. Somebody ain't telling the truth. This was August 13th, Saturday, August 13th, 2022. Okay. At least one lawyer for former President Donald Trump signed a written statement in June 2022 asserting that all material marked as classified and held in boxes in a storage area at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence and club had been returned to the government for people with knowledge of the dossier. So why didn't Donald Trump back in June say, hey, I declassified everything. I waved a magic wand. I declassified everything. The written declaration was made after a visit on June 3rd to Mar-a-Lago, okay, by J.I. Bratt, B-R-A-T-T, the top counterintelligence official in the Justice Department's National Security Division. The existence of the signed declaration, which has not previously been reported. This is why I do this research, because I've been following this every day. We talked about it between Wednesday and Friday. So much stuff happened between Wednesday and Friday. I've been following this every day, all day. The existence of the signed declaration, which has not previously been reported, is a possible indication that Donald Trump or his team were not fully forthcoming with federal investigators about the material. Uh-oh. And it could help explain why a potential violation of a criminal statute related to obstruction of justice was cited by the Department of Justice as one base for seeking the warrant used to carry out the day-long search of Donald Trump's home on Monday, an extraordinary step that generated political shockwaves. This is never, the FBI has never served a search warrant at a sitting president or former president's residence. Stuff like that doesn't happen, except when you got a criminal